I'm in control, but I'm going to do what I'm told by the adverts. I'm going to do what I'm told by society. I'm going to do what I'm told because I'm scared I'm going to be labelled as a pussy and that I'm not a real man. We are constantly bombarded with advertising telling us that eating meat will make us more manly. Back in Paleolithic times, women predominantly gathered plant foods and cared for children, while mostly the men would go off to hunt. But we have changed vastly in the thousands of years since then, both on an individual and on a societal level. Individually, in terms of increased cognitive function and abilities, and society-wise in terms of morals and values, agriculturally, and by way of science and technology. We have changed unrecognisably, yet many men harken back to our ancient past as a way to inform us on how to act in these modern times. Looking back though, what was behind men's actions? It was the drive to provide so that his tribe could survive in those extremely harsh times. He was caring for his community. For us to kill required denying and suppressing our natural empathy and compassion. We would wound an animal, run them down while they were in fear for their life, and have to finish them off, no doubt in even more bloody and brutal fashion than is required today. Back then, it behooved us to become cold-hearted and uncaring towards animals. Fast forward to modern day, and we've bizarrely confused this role of the male as a provider, with men showing empathy and not wanting to eat meat, as a sign of weakness. Times have changed drastically, yet we're still holding on to primal fears. Men are anxious that their masculinity is vulnerable and that they will be perceived as feminine if they go vegan. They fear the social stigma of being labelled as a soy boy, a nonsensical idea perpetuated by the dairy industry. Phyto, i.e. plant estrogen, may have a strong effect on you, should you happen to be a daffodil. But it's 1/10,000th the strength of mammalian estrogen. You know, the stuff that dairy is filled to the brim with. What a ridiculous thing to worry about. But the dairy industry has stoked our insecurities and we fall for this time and time again. Driven by fear, we hide these weaknesses behind a wall of toxic masculinity. We make out that we are hard and we ridicule others with true strength that are confident enough to stand up against the injustice. We worry about what it means to be a man now. The world has changed, gender roles are no longer rigid, and what does it even mean to be one gender or any gender anymore? We are insecure, so we look to our past to inform us. Being a man used to mean hunting, so meat eating must equal manliness. Except it doesn't. As discussed, being a man was about providing. It was about looking out for and caring for our families and our tribe. The act of killing an animal was only a means to an end. That's all. But animal agriculture continues to use advertising that preys on our anxieties. It tickles me that female sexuality is used to appeal to us in this way. Perhaps they think that we're going to believe that a woman wants an uncompassionate man who doesn't care about animals. It's all very warped, yet we fall for it. That 50-inch electronics-filled rectangle in the corner of everyone's living room is the greatest hypnotist of all time. Media portrays eating meat as leading to strength, domination, power and control. Men want to be seen to be displaying these attributes, that we are strong, that we are powerful, that we make our own decisions. How ironic then that it's this fear of social stigma that drives our meat consumption. If we really are strong, capable, independent, if we don't worry about others, if we don't have fears and insecurities because we're so masculine, well then why is it that we're falling for this marketing? Why are we pandering to what others think of us? This is the single biggest stumbling block for most men considering veganism. We're too weak to risk the social stigma around our perceived masculinity. We need to feel strong and powerful, but in reality, by eating meat because of social stigma, we're showing that we are weak, vulnerable, and gullible. We want to be seen to be in control. We don't care about animals, we just do whatever we want. It's funny to hurt animals, meat is tasty, and vegans are weak little fairies. I'm in control, but I'm going to do what I'm told by the adverts. I'm gonna do what I'm told by society. I'm gonna do what I'm told because I'm scared I'm gonna be labeled as a pussy and that I'm not a real man. It's preposterous. We all know that meat leads to an early grave. We know that heart disease, our #1 killer, is caused by the fat and cholesterol in meat, eggs and dairy. We know that the World Health Organization has labeled processed meats as cancer-causing and red meats as probable carcinogens. Yet we let our fear of how others perceive us trump our lifespan and health. How manly are you gonna feel when your dick stops working because of the atherosclerosis in your penile arteries? How manly are you gonna feel when you have your first heart attack and are too scared to exercise for fear of dying? And how manly are you gonna feel when you lose one of your testicles to cancer? We've had a world-class strength coach who scoffed at veganism and advocated eating steak for breakfast die in his 50s. We've had an outspoken anti-vegan celebrity chef die of heart disease at age 44. What a waste, what a terribly tragic turn of events, all because of social programming. Continuing this train of thought, if our role as men is to protect our families, is to protect our communities, then in terms of environmentalism, meat eating is the polar opposite of manliness. Going vegan has been proven time and time again by the most comprehensive studies ever conducted to be the single biggest thing we can do to alleviate the climate crisis and ensure that the planet will support our children. If we want to provide, then we need to consider food scarcity going forward. We need to combat topsoil erosion and drought. How are we protecting our communities when we continue to let zoonotic diseases develop? Ebola, swine flu, bird flu, HIV, SARS, CJD, and now COVID-19. And what kind of massive failures are we going to feel when the first antibiotic-resistant superbug born of factory farming appears? We will be back in the dark ages. With antibiotics no longer working, a simple cut or scrape could spell death to us and all our loved ones. If we're taking the historical role of what it meant to be a man and applying it to the modern day, then veganism is the ultimate expression of manliness. Not that I agree with this gender stereotyping or think that anyone should see these things as purely masculine roles. To protect, to nurture, and to provide safety should be seen as human roles. Now, more than ever, we need to pull together and work for the common good. And now click this.